I'm joined by Johnny Mercer, who's a Conservative MP, who one of the first to raise this issue last week, and it seems that you have set the trend for your colleagues, including those in the Cabinet, to come out and call for this. What do you make of them coming out publicly and talking about this?
Well, I think it's positive. You know, in politics, I think we do at times get excited about who said what when. It's a question of fairness, I think, and what's right. And I was very clear during the campaign. You know, I get a lot of I take the temperature from the doors, going out in the doors. And, people were talking about this. People are talking about the offer we give to our public sector workers. And we've got to make sure it's right. You know, there is a broad offer. There is a non-contributory pension scheme. There is job security. But there also is pay. And I'm acutely aware of that coming from the military as well. And we need to make sure it's an ongoing discussion whether or not we're getting that right. I think we're getting to a point where we need to look at that.
I suppose the question that certainly the Chancellor would ask is how is it to be paid for? Would you be in favour of it being more borrowing, or do you think that taxes have to go up somewhere?
I do think, my party clearly believes in lower taxes and I agree with that. But I do think that as the population expands and as we require more public services, we are going to have a conversation about tax and how much we pay. Now, there were a lot of people on the doors who were prepared to pay a little bit more to make sure we look after people properly. But look, there's still a job of work to be done. There are still plenty of people, I'm afraid, who still think that too many people are claiming welfare who don't need to and things like that. So it's a balance. But I do think we've reached a point where we need to look at public sector pay, and pleased others are now sort of clambering on board this message. But look, it's not about individuals and not about who said what when. It's about, as a team, achieving a fair result for public sector pay in this country, and I look forward to seeing the results of that hopefully in the autumn.
Of course, Labour would say that they have changed the conversation, that it's their performance at the general election, the offer that they made to voters, that has meant that you as the Conservative Party are now running to catch up.
The truth is, I've only been here a couple of years, but the government, I cannot remember a time when the government did something the opposition asked it to. The government does stuff because government MPs and MPs on that party try and do the right thing by their constituents. If you've seen over a number of things, over tax credits, and again now over public sector pay. We're not stupid, we go out on the doors, we are servants of the people. Everybody in this place knows that. We go out there, it's our job to represent people in our constituencies. This is what they're saying. They understood austerity in 2010. They understood that we couldn't undo it in 2015. In 2017, I think people are looking for a little bit more. And I think we have to react to that. The Conservative Party has to adapt if we are going to continue to drive change in this country, and hopefully this will be a part of that.
And do you think the Chancellor is listening to that? I mean, he is concerned about the country not living within its means, about balancing the books. That seems to be getting further and further away. Do you think the message will get through to those who are, in charge of the country's coffers?
Yeah, well, I think the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are absolutely listening. Look, they've got a very difficult job, haven't they? As you rightly pointed out, where is that money going to come from? How do you balance this really complicated balance book across government? If we look at what we've actually done for low earners, raising the income tax threshold, the living wage. Let's not pretend that these our lowest workers are getting seen off all the time. There have been improvements in that, but look, we've got to listen to what people say. I know that the Chancellor is listening. I know the Prime Minister's listening, and they're not going to not listen to either people like me, but people in this place, I think, think we're all isolated from public opinion. You just put your finger in the air and vote against public sector pay rises. It can be further from the truth. We are dedicated to doing what we're sent here to do, and I know the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are part of that as well.
So, during the election, as you say, you were knocking on doors. Your constituency, many would say, is not a typical Conservative constituency. What were people saying to you then?
Well, look, the election was another really great experience for me, being quite new into politics. People, yes, were talking about public sector pay. They're talking about public services. 35% of jobs in Plymouth are in the public sector. It's a broad part of our workforce. Brexit wasn't as strong as I thought it was going to be. People seem to think, Brexit is kind of done. We voted on that, and now we need to deliver on that. And so that's why, yes, we need to adapt to these challenges of public sector pay and, and the challenge of austerity. But at the same time, deal with Brexit. People want us to get on and deliver that. They voted for us to come up to here, get on, deliver Brexit. And then what does the country look like post-Brexit? That's what people are interested in. How do we fund our public services? How do we get mental health right? How do we get veterans care right? All these crushing problems, social problems that we've got to go and tackle tackle. That's what people are interested in. So I want to see us get on with Brexit, deliver that, and then we can tackle these challenges further down the line.
Do you think, obviously, we're in a hung parliament situation, there is of course a deal between the Conservatives and the DUP, but do you think that where we are politically, is that the kind of place and environment that you can have a mature discussion about what are obviously very difficult decisions?
I'd certainly like to think so. I mean, one of the disappointing things I've found here is the sort of opposing nature of policies a lot of the time. There's a lot we agree on, right? We all understand that mental health has been poorly funded for far too long by governments of all colours. We all agree that our veterans' care isn't good enough. I would like to see better working cross-party, and indeed I was part of that in the last term, working with Norman Lamb and Luciana Berger to go and see the Prime Minister, talk about social care funding. You know, this is a core challenge to my generation of MPs. How do we look after people in an ever-ageing population, cost more money, people don't want to pay more tax? How do you cross the sums? It's very, very difficult. We can only do that if we all work together. So yes, I would like to see that. But whether it can be achieved or not, I think they've probably been trying to do that for a long time here, and I will certainly keep trying until we get there.